Hey everyone, Abe here from The Return of the Movie. So we had a small issue for this episode. As you might know, this was our first live stream taping, and thanks to some technical issues, we lost the original recording. But wait, we were able to get a backup from YouTube's live stream archive, so we still have an episode for you today. That being said, it does have some distortion that we've done our best to clean up. Anyway, hope you enjoy the episode, and thanks for listening.
Anime has a lot of weird going on. And to be honest, that's kind of what makes anime, well, anime. It has its own style that evokes the feeling of genre, despite the fact that it's actually a medium. But despite our love for it, we have to admit that anime has some weird tropes, and some of them do not blend well with Western audiences at all. And so for that reason, we're going to break down our 3 most favorite and most hated anime tropes on this episode of The Return of the Movie.
Hello and welcome to The Return of the Movie. I'm Ben, and I am here with my co-host for the day, Abraham.
Hello.
And we have in the booth, Jose, who is going to be, well, in the booth, probably roasting us and letting us know if there's anyone in chat that wants to participate in any way.
Jose, give us a quick, good roast.
You guys suck.
Thank you.
It does it. It's flawless.
Excellent. Applause. So this is a little bit of a weird episode. I kind of need to preface that. There were several iterations of what this one was going to look like.
Yeah.
This started out as a jumping off point from last episode. We briefly talked about how a lot of things within nerd culture are in the alt-right pipeline. But we didn't want to do that episode because it felt like a bummer after our previous episode about racism. Mm-hmm. So instead, we're going to be sugarcoating it a little bit with some fun things, as well as some really dark shit.
Yeah, just kind of like going into just anime tropes in general, and all of the cool and weird, quirky, but also deeply upsetting and bad things.
I feel like a lot of the things that we're going to talk about, because some of the tropes here are just weird for Western audiences.
Oh, yeah.
Which is another way that we wanted to talk about this, and then we were like, that doesn't really work.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of the things on here, even some of the good ones, are the reasons why people, specifically Western viewers, have a hard time getting into anime.
Yeah, because it is very much like an otherworldly experience. It's very hyper, I guess hyper stylized is the right word. Like it is anime, and it's unapologetically anime. And there's not many genres that are that way. Like even things like Westerns do share a lot of a lot of similarities with other tropes that we are familiar with Western audiences. Whereas anime is just it can be so far removed that it's oftentimes a little daunting to get into.
Yeah. I think the main thing here, though, is that, as far as this medium is concerned, there's weird things.
Yeah.
You will learn based off of whatever your first anime is to either accept those weird things or to not accept those weird things.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like people that start out with Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which, if you do that, by the way, you are setting yourself up for failure within this medium. You have set the bar too high.
Yeah.
But you're not gonna get into some of the fun tropes that are on here because that show doesn't have them. That's the most palatable for Western audience.
It has some of them. It has some of them. It has a lot of yelling.
It has a lot of yelling. I don't think Edward Elric ever once yells the name of an attack, though.
No. He doesn't go that far. But you idiot! They're that kind of yelling.
Okay. I will concede on that.
Yeah, a little bit.
So we're going to start with one of our not favorite tropes first, but it doesn't really exist anymore within modern anime.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the Sakura trope, or the why is the female character in the main cast the dead weight?
And here's the thing, Sakura got dealt dirty. Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna say something right now. I hate Naruto. I absolutely fucking despise that. And I was like, alright, I'm gonna go through Naruto, I'm gonna skip all the filler, I'm gonna get to the end. The Naruto Sasuke fight, fucking amazing. Then Shippuden comes in, and I'm like, alright, Sakura gets an upgrade. She's healing people. She's punching fucking, what's his name? Teacher, in that first bell exam, punches the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah, Kakashi. Yes. She's doing this whole, song and dance, and I'm like, she's actually doing great. And then
by the end.
Yeah, it just isn't it just fucking sucks.
I mean, like, this is a trope that exists with, and like this is something that I feel like you can kind of see like within some Western media as well. There are a lot of examples. It's not the same thing because like shonen anime is so like it's about fight scenes and choreography, and when you show a useless character or a character that's supposed to be deadweight or not performing as well, it's going to be like they're a bad fighter.
Yeah.
But like in Western media, you will see this within characters that become either like just bad at decision making or somewhat straight up unlikable.
Yeah.
And like I feel like a modern example of this, unfortunately, if we're talking about modern media, would be the example of what a lot of people are feeling is Galadriel within Rings of Power, which is she's not a useless fighter, but she is making bad decisions as far as certain things. A lot of people are labeling her annoying. I do not necessarily agree with this sentiment.
I think that's definitely a little bit true, but I think the difference between the example that you just gave and other examples in Western media and anime is that in anime is usually marketed and targeting young boys and young adult men, and because of that, it's usually a power fantasy for these people.
Yes.
So these female characters are often either the people of desire or just just bad representation for people who might also consume that media, where they go, okay, well, we want to have a girl character because obviously girls watch anime, but we're not actually going to make them a main point of focus or give them anything compelling really to do, or I guess participate in the larger fight, which was weird. And I've seen clips of Naruto.
Weird in Naruto.
Yeah,
Sakura should have been involved in that last fight, and like they will not power scale them. But like again, this is something that fortunately we do not see in a lot of modern examples. Jujutsu Kaisen gets major points with a lot of people for the fact that like every woman in the cast can pretty much kick everyone's ass.
Yeah.
Can I interject for a minute?
Absolutely.
Because I actually just started watching Jujutsu Kaisen, and like I am like blown away by like how just like amazing like everything is, like from the music to the animation and like the characters, like all well balanced and all around like interacting with each other. So like it's been like a very big plus for like compared to like a lot of other anime.
Yeah, it's a fresh of breath air when it happens, and like it makes the characters actually feel compelling and well-rounded.
You want a story where everyone is like playing a part, and especially when so many characters play integral roles, if there's one that isn't, it stands out.
Yes.
And when it's always the female character, it's especially upsetting. I mean, it's going as early back as like Pokemon. I mean, like, not to say that like Misty was, like not a capable character, but in the context of Ash and Brock, I feel like she was always the one that was kind of...
She felt sidelined in a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like, there were definitely moments where they would be like, we're going to let Misty shine, but it was few and far between.
Yeah.
And don't even get this started as the series went on, and then they had, like, Pokemon contests, and that was, like, the major focus for the protagonists.
Oh my god! When my little brother started watching Diamond and Pearl, and the what's her name? What's that character's name?
Dawn. No, Diamond and Pearl. Yeah.
Yeah. She did the whole contest and everything, and it was always like, we don't care. Nobody cares. It's all about the battles. Oh well.
Yeah, that's not necessarily a fun element here. I will say, like, one of the most heinous examples I can think of in a more niche anime would have to be the Reborn series.
I haven't seen that one.
This is... I think this sums up the trope very well. I think the main cast is 7 young boys and one girl. Or either 6 young boys and it's 1 girl. Either way, the problem here is that she probably has the least speaking lines. She's constantly getting her ass kicked in every way just to exist as someone for everyone else to save. And then when she does fight really well, it's because she's possessed by a man.
Okay. Well,
but the good news is we don't have that anymore. So on that,
we don't have that trope happening anymore.
I don't think it's anywhere near as prevalent within modern shonen.
That is true.
I think a lot of people understand that from a marketing standpoint, everyone likes shonen,
Yeah,
especially young women. I mean, My Hero Academia like has a very large
like half. It's like half the cast is like female.
Yeah, and everyone does a pretty good job at kicking ass. Although I will say, I don't. There's some. I still feel like Yukihara somewhat fits within this trope.
What did you say?
Oh wait, no.
Say that name again. No, pronounce that name again.
No, I don't feel like I don't. I don't want to.
Well, I guess moving on from that. Let's now talk about something I guess a little lighter on my end, which is a trope that I love, and not so much that I love, but that's just very funny to me. Self-insert characters. And that's not to say that Western media doesn't have this, but I think in anime, there was just a lot more, not just in shonen, but in all types of genres. And I came up with my three kind of like different trifecta of self-insert. So first, you have the vanilla MC who's the best at insert whatever good thing that they're good at. So things like Sword Art Online.
Yes.
A perfect example. Like, can you name any qualities of that main character? Jose, can you name any qualities of
Kirito, the overpowered boy?
Yeah, exactly. Silence. I see that. So that's one. And then the second, you have the ostracized person who proves everyone wrong by becoming a badass.
Yes.
So this is your Naruto. This is your My Hero. This is your Attack on Titan.
Itadori from Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
They're all just meant to give people who feel like they're losers someone to imprint on and live vicariously through.
Wow, we are going after the anime fans now.
I mean, like, it's not like, out of all things in nerddom, that's...
Okay, I guess self-it, you know what, you got a
Welcome
point.
to the Scope YouTube channel where we split our audiences every episode.
Look, I mean, I'm not saying that people who consume anime are losers. I'm saying that archetype is just used heavily.
Yes.
And even if, everyone feels bad every now and again.
I'd agree with that.
So finally, the last one is a perfect person who has had such a traumatic life, but is a perfect being and is rewarded by having multiple pursuers. So
I see what you have written.
This is almost all of harem anime. The most iconic is Fruits Basket.
Fruit Basket is one of the most delightful reverse harem. My partner still does not believe that it's a harem anime.
It absolutely is.
Absolutely a reverse harem anime. Every man is fawning over Laura Bailey's character.
Question, because I haven't seen a good amount of it, but would Food Wars also count in that, or no?
Food Wars is harem.
Okay.
It is, I think that's actually like one of the less fun tropes. I did not admittedly have it on this list. But like, it's on the flip side of it.
Yeah.
I don't think that character counts as the self-insert in the harem type, though.
No, I don't think they do. Just because there's so much going on around them that it's usually if the person is like a nothing burger in terms of like personality, quality, and traits. And that's not to say that like some characters on this list don't have any, but they're just so one note and one dimensional that it's just hard to.
So I guess like in my question here is like when we experience these, like, because I feel like self-inserts always serve a different purpose. Like I feel like in Naruto, it's a power fantasy.
Oh yeah, they all have like in this trifecta, they all do different things. Yeah, and it's evident by the story in which they exist.
Yeah. I feel like, and it's always really interesting because when you start looking at characters as self-inserts, you go like, this is what the author wishes they were.
Yes, a little bit.
Which makes Sword Art Online embarrassing as far as self-inserts are concerned.
It's a person who just like, I'm such a badass, and then and then I get trapped in a world, and then I get a wife.
No, he doesn't get a wife. He gets multiple pursuers, but he chooses a wife. Which, by the way, if you haven't seen Sword Art Online Unbridged,
don't. Oh, well, the bridge.
Abridged. Abridged. It's the only acceptable way to consume Sword Art Online.
Have you seen the abridged Sword Art Online?
The only abridged I've seen was Naruto when it lasted like 20 episodes, and Yu-Gi-Oh, which is thankfully still going on.
I will say, this SAO abridged is, not only is it funnier, and just it's just a better story. Like, the plot just makes a lot more sense.
I agree.
Spoiler alert, I just want to really quickly say this. Basically, the enemy of the whole thing is also just as nerdy as the main character, who's basically like, oh, you also like all these nerd references, and he's like also as big of a loser, which is meant to parallel. Anyways, go watch FAO Bridge.
Yeah, it's great. I guess on not great news now, because we got to do this now.
Back to you.
Back to me. It's time for the bummer note. I was showing Attack on Titan to my partner back when season 4 was airing. We finally got to season 4, and I remember she turned to me and immediately went, "So, could someone please explain to me why there's so much Nazi stuff in a lot of anime that I see?" And I went, "Huh, that's a very good point. I have noticed that as well. So I'm going to look into this." It is a trope. It is otherwise known as Nazi Chik. So it is essentially the adaptation of style from, in particular, a lot of people in anime seem to really like the SS uniform within anime itself. Big problem burger here, but as some viewers that have watched our Attack on Titan coverage might know, World War II is not really covered in the same way in Asia as a whole.
Yeah.
So Nazi chic is very prevalent there. Where this is very notable is Attack on Titan. You can kind of see, like, there's inspiration from there, but Attack on Titan, I think, does actually a good job of establishing that it is trying to talk about this.
Yeah, and it also doesn't use it as like a good thing that's like
No.
to be modeled after. That's the one thing that I will give the show credit for. But there is one show that I have heard a lot of that uses this trope, and I think it's JoJo's.
So in JoJo Part 2, in particular, I think there might be some stuff in Part 4 or 5, but I'm not quite sure. In Part 2, when we are following the American JoJo, we meet a character who, I must try to pronounce his name correct, Rudolph von Stonheim?
I don't know, I haven't seen JoJo's.
It's been a very long time.
That's all you.
However, this is a character that gets in. The story takes place during World War II, and we are introduced.
Wait, JoJo's takes place during World War II?
Bruh, JoJo's play takes place at every time imaginable. World War II is just one of the many.
Like, is it about World War II?
No.
Oh, it just happens to take place.
This Part 2, which follows the second Joseph, takes place. There's a lot of JoJo's.
No,
I have to clarify.
I know.
But this takes place during World War II, and we first meet this character who is a Nazi who has taken captive a beloved character whose name is escaping me, and I know the comments is going to rip me apart for that because it is a very important character. But he's taking this character captive, and Joseph's like, "I hate Nazi scum," and he's like shooting the Nazis, and like he presumably gets this man killed.
Okay.
And we're like, okay, cool. JoJo killed the Nazi. Whoo, because they were making the Nazis look really cool 2 seconds ago.
Okay.
And you go, okay, this is fine. And then later in the season, the Nazi's like, "I'm back, but I'm a robot, and I'm on your side." And Joseph's like, "Cool. I respect you." And we're going to gloss over that at this time, the Holocaust is happening. And I know about it.
Hi, this is Ben here from the Post Room. Quick note. At this time, von Stonheim was still a Nazi. Not post-Nazi cyborg, still a Nazi cyborg. And was doing Nazi things while he was helping Joseph. Joseph works with an active Nazi during the Holocaust, and it is never addressed. Bye.
I'm not surprised that this is happening. I'm just surprised that you're saying it, because this is the kind of thing that would happen in JoJo's. As far
As someone who has not seen JoJo, I'm so confused.
I have not seen it either.
I love trying to explain JoJo's Bizarre Adventures to people that have not seen JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, because none of it makes sense. There's like 2 magic systems, and both of them are weird. And there's Nazis, and they just flip to being good guys because they're like, there's a greater evil, but like we're also just gonna not pay attention to the Nazi thing.
Basically, like Captain America, like what's his name, the guy who becomes the robot in the Captain America movies.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Robot Nazis who are good guys never ends up well. But anyways,
Yeah, well, I think like Marvel ended up in kind of a weird position where they accidentally did this with Hydra. Actually,
well, the Peggy Carter character also is supposed to be a Nazi character. Yeah, that's
What?
Yeah, basically what they did is they basically changed, like they gave Peggy Carter, who is in the comics, they gave her the story of another character who is explicitly a Nazi. Yeah, I don't. There's a lot of controversy going on online about about Captain Carter and her role in the MCU and whether or not she should even be a hero.
I did not know this.
I mean, also when you think about it, in those movies, she basically was like, "Hey, Nazis, come work for us." That's canon in the movies.
I mean, I think that this is like, there you go. It's not something that's completely a subset to anime. Like, it can happen in other places.
Well, should we keep talking about Nazis, or can we?
No, we can move on.
Oh boy! All right, let's lighten the mood a little bit. Let's talk about my second favorite anime trope, and this is one that everybody knows and everybody loves: shouting anime names or shouting anime moves. You know, it's like in My Hero, there's full cowling, and then there's Pokemon, where they have every Pokemon say their name as their cry. They also say the name of the Pokemon when they summon them, and also they say the name of their moves.
Yes.
And Beyblade, you know, they're always like...
Fucking Beyblade, I forgot about that one.
Yep. And there's also, like, kind of connected to that is, like, the trope of, like, oh, this character's about to die, but suddenly they unlock the special move that was taught to them in a training arc in a flash.
All I'm thinking of is the first Bankai appearance from Ichigo in Bleach.
Sure.
You not watch Bleach.
Don't watch Bleach.
Sir, how have you lived this long in the anime world and not watched Bleach?
I don't know. They're all the same.
The same way I've done the same things.
Yeah.
You fools!
There's so much more good modern anime. Why would I watch the classics?
Honestly, I will say, there is like a note now where I feel like people talk about the big three and it's like, oh, these were for some reason they confuse them as being the best anime. And no, these were the three anime that kept the industry alive.
Yeah.
Which is the reason why there's too many episodes and they're all paced horribly.
Yep. But those are that's just like a fun little trope that anime. Well, also they do a lot of that kind of like spectacle, a little bit of spectacle in animes, and it's not just it's not just including this. It also includes just the inner monologues that people do. Like there is so much about anime where they're over explaining the thing that they're doing in order to convey like a sense of epicness.
I think this is the trope that I have watched my partner slowly give up on watching new anime with, because her first one was Full Metal Alchemist. I may have been subtweeting her when I said if you start with that one, you shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
But like I was trying to show her Hunter x Hunter. Hunter x Hunter came up as something that she would potentially have liked. And then as I'm rewatching this, I'm like, oh my god, they're over-explaining every attack action, every aspect of everything that's going on. I'm like, this episode could have been like there were 2 beats the entire episode.
If I play a yellow 4 card, will he draw a +4? Oh no, a reverse Uno!
You know, that adds to another anime show. Well, let me add the thing here. Because, like, when they're in the middle of doing the move and then they have the whole backstory happening as the move is going
Yes!
Where they're like, the master is like telling them, like, this is a move that's only meant for certain instances. When they're within 4 inches of you with their left hand, and you can pivot and turn in a way that brings your momentum into, like.
I think the
But
perfect
Sensei,
example.
will I ever need to use this?
I think the perfect example would probably be Rock Lee first doing the inner gates.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
absolutely.
God. It's like a whole episode.
God, fucking Naruto gives me like so many war flashbacks.
Dude, every time he says Shadow Clone Jutsu, every time he says Rasengan, every time they say like 1,000 years of death, like
I used to be like you.
I feel like one of the elements here is like every now and then I'm watching it. I feel like when I watch anime that has this trope, and I feel like this is an older trope. Like,
it is.
I don't think that this exists too much anymore. My Hero is the big exception here.
I'm trying to think of other shonens, because Jujutsu doesn't do this.
Jujutsu, though, breaks a ton of the shonen actually tropes and formula.
Right.
That's the reason why people are like, they like it. It's like, a shonen that doesn't feel like dog shit when I watch it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I'm like, this is a trope that has charm, a trope that has existed for a reason. I think it mainly came from Dragon Ball, because if you take a look at, like, other anime from the Dragon Ball era, like Inuyasha, it doesn't really have too much of this.
Well, the reason why that trope exists, and this is something that, like, for better or worse, is something that Japanese media does. Because all anime is an adaptation of manga, it's always faithful, down to the inner monologues that are written in the thought bubbles, down to the name of the moves. All of that exists in the pages of manga because of the limitations of that medium.
Yeah.
And so when it translates to an animation, they just keep it. And for better or worse, it's a faithful adaptation, but
it doesn't translate well.
No.
That's the reason why that makes sense, and I can see how when you do that, a chapter of One Piece will translate to an episode.
Yeah.
Although One Piece, that's not true at all, because One Piece literally has an entire fan base that edits the episodes to make them paced correctly.
Yeah.
It's called One Pace, by the way, if you ever want to watch One Piece at a reasonable length.
But it's still like a triple-digit episode numbers.
I'm not going to lie. I am in the process of starting where I picked up on the manga, and no one's going to see me for a little bit.
Oh boy! All right. Well,
I guess our shows aren't getting written now.
yeah. If you don't see Ben in the next 3 months, that's where he's been.
I'm going to be watching One Piece in my room.
All right, Ben.
I guess let's go into the final one. I can't really segue with One Piece on this, but on the note of Hunter x Hunter, we have to talk about easily the most problematic aspects within largely anime, manga fans as a whole. Not really fans, it's more that just they enable some of the really bad behavior that we don't really want in the fandom. The really 700 years old trope. So this is a trope that exist in other places.
Yeah.
This is when you have a character who is supposed to be a certain age. They could be like the age of you and me. They could be the age of
An
like
ancient
a 30-year-old, and then they could be. Well, I should rephrase that. They could appear like the age of me. They could appear like the age of like a 80-year-old person. They could appear at the age of a child. And this is that no matter what, they're actually like 700 years old. Where this becomes problematic, and you will see this a lot in anime. Now, this trope exists for children a lot, usually in particular with the idea of really creepy children. Like, you will see this trope in horror a lot for just to be like, there's a kid and something's off about them, and it's like, oh no, they're actually...
What's that one with the kids with the numbers on their necks? The one that just came out.
In Promised Neverland?
Yeah, kind
Promised
of.
Neverland...
It kind of...
I didn't finish it season 2, so I don't know if this trope exists in there.
There's one character.
Kind
of like that.
Okay. So where this becomes problematic is when the trope becomes an excuse to sexualize whoever is involved in this. Namely, if you've ever seen Seven Deadly Sins, you probably winced.
Oh no, I know what you're...
Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
See, this is...
You probably winced when you were like, there's this character Greed. He's super interesting. He's super cool. I like him a lot. He had a love interest. Who's the love interest? And it's a child that's actually 1,000 years old.
Yeah, there's just a lot of animes like that where I just will not pick it up if it exists. One that was infamously told to me, and I think you mentioned this before taping. What was it called again?
Made in Abyss.
Made in Abyss.
So Made in Abyss doesn't follow this trope, but it does fall into the camp of enabling media that normalizes pedophilia. Actually, no, there is a scene where I think an older person does interact with a child that way.
I'm just
it's there.
And like,
it's there.
I don't know anything about the show. I've heard that the story's good, but at a certain point, I'm like, I don't care how good your story is. If you got that in your show, I'm like, I'm not gonna watch it.
My issue is like, I always I'm like, wow, this is a great anime. I hope there's no pedo shit in it. And then you get slapped in the face with it.
Yep.
Like, this is just one of the tropes that I'm like, it's here. I don't want to, like, there's not really too much to really dive into because there's not actually, like,
there's no justification.
There's no for this. Like, culturally speaking, it is still very illegal and frowned upon for this to exist.
And it's not like it's something that's like normalized there either. It's also like, no, because there are a lot of outspoken people who will say like, no, we do not like this. Please stop doing this.
Yeah, no, so I don't think that it's normalized. What I think it is a little bit more connected to, and this is a theory. This is just me going based off of where the media lives, who's consuming it, and who's making it. A lot of it's online. And when you start taking a look at the fact that a lot of doujinshi, which is just independent manga, it's manga that does not initially have a publisher. It may move to a publisher at some point, but that's all that it is.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it starts on the internet. A lot of it's being distributed on the internet for people, and a lot of the places that this stuff gets distributed is places like 8chan and 4chan. Do you see where the pattern can go now?
Yeah.
So when you have media that's being made, in particular in those spaces,
for
that
online.
can be and it can be made anonymously very easily, just with a pen handle behind it. You can easily end up with this being baked into a lot of manga.
Yeah.
And you can end up with very problematic material being produced in those spaces.
Yeah.
Also, like, there's this anime called, in English I know it's called My First Girlfriend is a Gal. And, like, it's meant to be a joke anime, just to clarify, because they have this one character who's, like, a best friend of the main male protagonist. And, like, I kid you not, his entire, like, personality is being a pedophile.
Yeah.
And I've heard that this also exists within a couple isekais as well, where there seems to be a recurring theme in some isekais that I've actively chose not to watch because I know that this exists in, where there's at least 2 that I have been told, hey, you should definitely watch it, but the main character is essentially a sex offender. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I don't feel like trying to get in that person's shoes.
Yeah, also, like, even in My Hero, like, those 2 things, like, the 2 things we were just talking about, one, there are, like the first-year high school students who are, like, very, very sexualized, and it's, like, and they're obviously, like, made in a way where it's, like, obviously, like, they're made and drawn, like, semi or young adults.
Yes.
But still, the fact that they're freshmen is, like, extra fucking weird.
You go, like, oh, if this was an actual person, they would just look... They would
look like
not
a
look
child.
like that. They would look like small children.
And then the second one is also, like, that Mineta character, who's literally his whole entire fucking character is just, I'm a pervert. That's who I am.
Well, why? That's the other... We can just put this one under the umbrella of all the weird, extremely problematic sexual tropes within anime. What's the... Sanji fit the pervert bill for a little bit from One Piece.
Yes.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. There were a Brock fit it as well.
Yeah.
Like this, and then Naruto. We can even get like Jiraiya existed.
Yes.
Not to mention Naruto himself.
Naruto himself. At least early on, I think they kind of were like, "Ooh, this is not cool for the main character," and eventually just were like, "Hey, you forgot that the pervert jutsu exists, right? Where he just turns into a naked woman and flashes you."
And they even bring it back and ship it for a bit. So yeah.
Yeah, it's big no fan. No fan. But it is slightly going away. However, I feel like your reaction is the kind of reaction that does need to exist, where when you hear about it, if we do not want this trope existing,
You just don't watch it.
yeah, make it hurt the bank account of whoever's greenlighting it.
Yeah.
Like, that is the simplest answer that's gonna be the most effective with this.
And especially nowadays when there's so much good anime, it's like and I will say, for characters like Mineta and like other characters also like Jiraiya and like that kind of trope, the pervert trope is usually frowned upon at the very least.
Yes.
And it's like, still it's not cool, but at the very least, shows like Made in Abyss should not be supported. just because of just how there's no look down upon on the presentation. It's not done to make a point or even any sort of justification.
Yeah.
It just is. And when something is just that,
I
just
feel like
stay away.
on the flip side, I can talk about Neon Genesis Evangelion. It does have some of these problematic moments within the original. However, thematically, that show is entirely about when you take children and put them into these wartime situations, as they are essentially trying to the entire show is about suicidal thoughts, surviving abuse, there are situations where you can okay, maybe this is something to be explored, and from an actual character standpoint, I do think that there are places to talk about, in particular, survivor stories that can be done tastefully. I also think that there are plenty of times where they're done untastefully, and in both of those instances, I'm kind of looking at Berserk, because Berserk will, on one hand, do a phenomenal job showing you what male survivorship looks like from surviving sexual assault. On the other hand, it will draw certain female characters in a way that is entirely to titillate the audience during a rape scene. So
just be mindful of the media that you're consuming, and if you don't like something, just don't watch it.
There you go.
That's pretty much all there is to it. Now, on a lighter note, and I guess to wrap up this podcast, I feel like we should talk about my top favorite anime trope, dead parents. Why is every main character in an anime, why do they always have dead parents? I mean, I'm trying to Naruto, they have dead parents. I'm assuming Bleach, dead parents.
Eren Yeager.
Eren Yeager, dead parents. One of the parents he killed, which is fucking, that's extra hardcore.
Yep.
My Hero, not so much. What else? I'm trying to think of more.
I want to mind, but
What's her name? From Fruit Basket. I'm pretty sure she has.
Yeah, she has dead parents.
She has dead parents.
Yeah, she has dead parents.
I don't know
Hunter.
about Luffy, if he counts.
Luffy? Yeah. We don't.
No, we're learning about his parents. One of his parents may be the Pirate King. The previous Pirate King, which will count as dead, but the other one might be alive, according to rumors I've seen on the internet. Let me know in the comments.
Okay.
I might be speaking.
Well,
yeah.
not even so much dead parents, absent parents.
Yes.
The idea that these characters are not coming from stable home lives ever, and Luffy counts in that instance.
Ash Ketchum says hello.
Ash Ketchum. Where's his dad?
Exactly.
Where's his daddy?
Exactly.
Where's his daddy? He ran off. Went to go become a Pokemon trainer and died on the way to the Elite Four. Just
Yikes.
and it's such a cliche that I honestly love it.
I will say this is something that it does exist in
Full Metal Alchemist.
No.
Full Metal Alchemist.
Okay, it goes there. I will say it's a cliche that exists there, as it is such a main building block of the hero's journey. There is a joke that whenever you have the new D&D players, it's the DM will get everyone's sheet and goes you guys can have parents who are alive. You're allowed to do that, people. You don't have to all have dead
Your
parents.
trauma doesn't have to come from there.
Yeah, but give me new trauma, replace that, and I feel like everyone wants a traumatized main character to start out with, because that's honestly how you get some kind of good things. I think the only exception is isekais, because isekais, the main character is kind of always a self-insert.
Yeah.
If another example of parents, while not at the start, like Yagami.
Yes.
Yeah, I count that.
Yep. Yeah.
It's different in the sense that his parents are there, but the fact that they're not a main point of focus, or even people that he can go to in times of need, or feel like he can, or maybe even that he sees himself as above that.
I think I think all of Death Note is a subversion of anime at that time, and I think it is a subversion of the trope, because this is a character that has everything, should be doing perfectly fine. Everything is set up for Yagami and his descent into madness and his alienation of everyone else around him.
Yeah.
You can see that very clearly with the relationship between him and his dad. And I feel like that is a way to do alienated parents and home life, and kind of it can be seen as a commentation on that trope, but I don't think it fits within that box, though.
No,
because
yeah,
it's
you're
not
right.
something that really informs the character going into things. Like,
Yeah.
all of the, like, every character that we just listed, like, goes through a classic hero's journey and is completely like, I have nothing. I live alone, even though I'm 14. Which is also, like, the other trope that I
They're
feel like
always
is connected
14.
to it. Yeah, they're always a teenager who somehow has an apartment that they pay for themselves. Like, I don't know what the price of rent is in Japan.
Did Naruto live alone? Like, did
Naruto lived alone. Well, okay.
He was supported by the third Hokage.
Okay.
Yes, I was about to say, it was different. Third Hokage, kind of just he was
They
put
gave
in,
him like a monthly fund or something like that. I think.
yeah, he was literally put in, like, Minato, his dad,
Yeah, his name is Minato.
Minato. I'm like, oh god, too many anime characters' names are crossed in my head. But Minato was essentially like, hey, I'm dying. I need you to look after my son. And then Third Hokage was like, fine. Hey, kid, here's some money. I'm never going to talk to you until you're, like, actually in the school. Okay, bye.
Jesus Christ.
He Albus Dumbledored the fucking thing.
Why? Even in Harry Potter, at least he had the fucking abusive parent. Like, that's... Come on. We're fucking real.
All right, question of the day: abusive parents or dead parents?
Someone better clip that. Someone better clip that. I didn't realize how out of pocket what I just said was until I said it.
Okay, to repeat the question from Jose, dead parents or abusive parents?
I mean, in a perfect world, both. Because no, hold on. I have a reason.
Okay.
I have a very actually narrative reason. Dead parents just creates the empty hole.
Yes.
Whereas, like, you're, like, needing something and missing something. Abusive parents gives you something tangible that you are like, I do not like this.
Yes.
And you can, like, kind of see at least a vision of what your life could be like. Like, in Harry Potter, his parents are, his aunt and uncle are abusive, and he's like, man, I cannot wait to fucking graduate, get the fuck out of here, and just live on my own, you know.
Yeah.
You can sense the resentment.
Yes.
So,
Let me add on to that then. Which one would you say offers more character development?
Ooh, abusive
parents.
Abusive,
Yeah.
I for the reasons that you just stated, yeah, because if you have that, like, dead parents is like, things are bad, but, like, things might be going bad. I think Naruto is actually a good example of this, because you don't need abusive parents if the entire village neglects and shuns you.
yeah.
So, like,
Naruto
it-
kind of counts as abusive.
Yeah, it's
'Cause
abusive
like-
because like the entire village is like, I hate you, and you're not gonna know why. And then he finally finds out. He's like, what the fuck? Should someone have fucking told me about this?
You're telling me that, like when I was just born, my dad, who I didn't know, put a demon inside me.
Also,
and,
my dad was the Hokage.
and nobody told me. Nobody told me.
Yeah, no, it's
I'd be pissed as shit. I'd be the fucking villain.
Yeah.
I'd be Orochimaru.
well, I think that's what Naruto does better than Harry Potter. Is that Harry Potter, because J.K. Rowling, we know, is really not a fantastic writer. She did a great job igniting the imaginations of children.
Yeah.
And kind of introducing a lot of these very fun tropes to fantasy and rekindling fantasy within the Western world for young adults.
Yeah.
We got a comment and saying, I believe there's a cultural thing in Japan for affluent teens to go to schools in different towns for a better education, and they often live alone.
Okay. Like they go to another place and live there remotely for the entirety of their school year, come back.
I believe so. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. So yeah, that might be why, like,
That's why that might exist. But
because children might feel alone and therefore they want to see themselves represented in that media. Okay.
yeah, so that checks out for that trope.
Here in America doesn't have an excuse.
No, we don't. Until we all start abandoning our children, we cannot write those stories, people. So on that, I think we're gonna end the episode.
And Americans, we got to start abandoning our kids.
Abandon your kids so we can get some dope ass shonen anime produced in the States, guys.
Based on a true story.
All right. Well, on that note, I'll still, just to finish my point, I think Naruto did better because Harry Potter should have been a villain, and Naruto at least had to fight that instinct.
Yeah.
But
Fuck Harry Potter.
fuck Harry Potter. Fuck
Rowling.
J.K. Rowling. And we'll see you all in about 2 weeks on our next episode. We are going to have You okay, Abraham?
No, we're ending. Just sorry. Fuck J.K. Rowling. Fuck Harry Potter. And goodbye, everyone.
Yep. We'll be back in 2 weeks. We're going to have Callie from last episode from Urban Jedi and Melanin Muses on the podcast as an additional guest. And we're going to be talking about love tropes and relationship tropes within media and how that affects us. But anyway, it's the return of the movie.
Fuck J.K. Rowling.
Fuck J.K. Rowling.
Hi. Did you enjoy the episode? If so, please like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. And if you are listening in the audio world, well, leave us a positive review and subscribe to YouTube anyway, because that's a big help to us. If you want a little bit more, we're going to have our next live stream tomorrow, the day after this comes out. And that's pretty much how this is going to be going from now on. Bye.